everyone, and welcome back to my channel. And today I thought that since it's almost Pride Month, it's almost my 30th birthday, that I would finally come out to you. Or is it actually coming out? What does coming out really mean? Because I've technically been out for like 10 years, if not even longer than that. So like, does it count? And I think I've even said it on this channel, but I've never made a video about it. So have I come out? Or have I? I guess I have, because people know. But probably not everybody knows, because it's not something that comes up in conversation for me a lot. I don't really know, but this is my dedicated video towards my sexuality. A long time ago, I did a video on my gender identity. I'll link that up above if I remember to do so. And that was talking about my like non-binariness and how I was struggling with it, and I bought my first chest binder. All of that, I would say, still rings true to some extent. You know, but gender's weird and it's confusing and it makes me fall down the deep, dark hole of like, I don't know what does being a girl mean? What does being a boy mean? I don't know. I don't like to think about it. My sexuality, I find a little bit easier to grapple with, only because I feel like I really understand myself in that sense. So let's get into it. I am asexual and most likely aromantic. So first I thought that we would at least go through the definitions of what asexual and what aromantic are, in case you've never heard of those terms before or you're unsure what they mean. I don't think that I'm necessarily like the connoisseur of those words. I don't know, all of the nuances of them, but I'll at least tell you the definition and what it means to me. So according to the Asexuality Wikipedia, asexuality is the lack of sexual attraction to others, low or absent interest or desire in or desire for sexual activity. And it may be considered a sexual orientation or a lack thereof. We'll get to that, I think, later. And there's a wide variety of asexual, like the spectrum is large for what can fit under asexuality. And aromanticism is a romantic orientation characterized by experiencing little to no romantic attraction. That's it. There you go. So it's just basically the lack of sexual. So what I am is the lack of sexual and romantic attraction to anybody. It's hard to even describe, like, what do you mean you don't have sexual or romantic attraction? Because it's kind of like, how do I explain not having a feeling that I've never had? And same for people who aren't asexual or aromantic. How do you describe a feeling that you just have? It's just there. But how I've always described these things to people, especially asexuality, is there is a feeling. If you are not asexual, there is a feeling that you have toward your partner, a hot person down the street, a celebrity, a book character, I don't know, but there is a thing that you feel for another person that makes you kind of go. That is the feeling that I don't have. The I want a bone feeling, I don't have it. I don't know what that means. I don't know how that works. I don't have that. I don't experience that. And it's the same kind of thing with aromanticism. Whatever the romantic tingly feelings that you have for other people, again, your partner, your prospective partner, whatever, I don't have that. I don't feel it. I've never felt it. Romantic feelings I find more difficult to like describe like what they are. At least sexual attraction is like a little bit more like, I don't want to bone anyone. Okay, so it's just a lack of feeling for anybody at all time. But it doesn't mean, it's not celibacy. So it's not choosing not to have sex until you're ready. It is the not feeling. Asexual people can have sex. You don't have to have romantic or sexual attraction to someone to want to have sex with them, which is confusing, and I know that. For me personally, I have no interest in participating, but I like don't mind it being talked about, mostly because I can't escape it. It's everywhere I go, because it's in every TV show. Like, romantic and sexual attraction is in every TV show. It's in every book. It's in every movie. It's in every advertisement. It's everywhere. So I've just kind of accepted that, and that's fine. Some people can't hear about it or don't want it talked about at all. And then some people will have sex if they feel close with their partner and they want to feel close to the partner, because it's a way to feel close to a person and less about the like enjoyment, because it's not like the feelings aren't there, like the physical feelings. Like, it's not like it doesn't feel good to people. Most asexual people that I've spoken to are like, yeah, it's who do have sex are like, yeah, it's fine. Like, I do it because I like my partner likes it, and like, yeah, it feels good, like, yeah, whatever. But also, it could stop today, and I could not have sex for the rest of my life, and I would be totally fine. And like, it's just not something that it matters to me if it matters to my partner, but it doesn't matter to me as a person. So that's kind of it, which is, I understand is confusing sometimes, but that's what it is. But how did I come to this conclusion? How did I figure out that I was asexual? Because among the queer umbrella, I feel like asexuality is one that is not talked about even today. It's really not discussed. There are very few asexual characters on TV. They're like, you know, try to think of some right now. Let me know. Can you think of any down below? Let me know. Because I can think of like 2, maybe, in like popular media. I don't watch a lot of new media, so there maybe is more asexual people, but the 2 that I can think of are Jughead Jones, but only from the Archie comics, because the Riverdale. But they never say asexual, because these comics are really old, but it's insinuated that he has no sexual attraction or romantic attraction to other people. And Bilbo Baggins from Lord of the Rings, which again, they never say it, but he just lived by himself in Hobbiton and never, and like, you know, but again, he's in the books so little that like you just don't think about it. And in the Hobbit movie, there's definitely some feelings between him and Thorin, but like, he's generally considered to be an asexual icon, but like that's kind of it, which isn't great for representation when those are the only 2 people you can think of in media. And so because asexuality is not like talked about a lot, I think it's really difficult for a lot of asexual people to like realize that they're asexual. That was definitely the case for me. I think I would have figured it out a lot sooner if I had had representation at all. That would have been nice. But let's go through what my journey was to get to this point right here in 2024. So I was born in the mid-90s, so I spent most of my childhood in like the late 90s, early 2000s. And in that time, as a child, I never felt different. That is something that I always felt like I struggled with when I watched other people's coming out videos, because a lot of them would start like, I always knew I was different, or I hit a certain age and I like knew that I didn't feel the same as my friends. I didn't have that experience. I didn't feel different. I mean, I felt different for lots of reasons, but not due to my sexuality growing up, because it wasn't really talked to. Like, sex and romance aren't talked about when you're 5 necessarily. Like, my parents didn't like, you know, talk, you know, it just wasn't discussed at all in my life. Like, so I didn't feel different from anybody, and nobody was boning or in romantic relationships as a child, so I didn't feel any different in that sense. Like, that was just how it was. And people told me that boys like girls and girls like boys, and you get married and have kids. And that was kind of just what I was like, okay, that's what I have, that's what I do, that's what's gonna happen. Okay. I would say that it did scare me away from having male friends quite young, because it was like, oh, because everybody would come around me would be like, oh, if they're nice to you, they like you, they have a crush on you, they want to date you. And that scared me in a way that I kind of couldn't describe. And I had a lot of boy crushes growing up, but looking back, it was any boy that was nice to me, because that's what I was told. If they were nice to me, they're in love with me. And I was kind of like afraid of that, but I think I mixed up the fear feelings that I had, or like the uncomfortable feelings, with that must be what having a crush on someone is like. So I had lots, so I couldn't like make eye contact with them, and they were never reciprocated. So I don't know what I would have done had they been reciprocated, but they weren't, so I didn't have to deal with it, which was kind of nice in the sense, but there definitely was a feeling of like, why aren't they reciprocated? Like, okay, should they be? But dating in like middle school, in my school at least, was like holding hands very briefly in the hallway, so like I wasn't missing out on much. But then when I got into kind of like my mid-teens, like probably 14, 15, is when my friends started experimenting. So they would like go off with their boyfriends at lunch and then come back and tell us all about their escapades. And at the time, I remember so vividly being like, ew, ew, why would you, why would you want to do that? And it was like, and my friends at the time were always like, aw, Allie, you're so innocent, so cute, so naive, so innocent. When you find the right person, you'll want to too, but like, so cute that you think it's gross. And like, I, even at the time, I remember thinking like, but you broke up with them right away. So like, they weren't the one for you. So like, what? Huh? But okay, I guess that's fine. And again, I wasn't really like, it wasn't being pushed on me. And I was like, okay, I guess it'll come at some point, I guess. And then it didn't. I kept going through like middle school, and again, my friends would start making like sex jokes, because that was funny as a teenager, and everybody would laugh, and I wouldn't get it. I felt like I was like the odd one out. Why don't I understand the joke? And it was always because you're so innocent, you're so naive, you're so innocent. And I was like, I don't think I am though. Like, I don't understand why that's the narrative. That's really frustrating. And why? Okay, all right. So I went to searching on the internet for the jokes that my friends would make, and I found some stuff, and I watched some stuff, and I remember I was watching it, and I was like, okay, all right, like, I get it now, but like, why would anybody want to do that? Okay, but at least I can be part of the joke, even if I don't get that. That was also among one of the most mortifying experiences of my life, because my parents caught me not watching actively, but like I didn't delete the browser history, and they caught me, and they were very upset, which is fair. But I was also like, people were making jokes, and I just wanted to know, and I was just going, I don't know, I'm sorry, and it was fine. But that was embarrassing. And then, yeah, so I was at least able to be part of the joke, but I still kind of I was starting to have the feeling of like, what is wrong with me? You know, like, why don't I feel what my friends are feeling for people? Why don't I? And I wasn't pursued by anybody, so it wasn't like I was batting people off either, but I was like, why aren't I pursued by anybody? Why don't I feel like what my friends are experiencing, and why don't I want to have experiences? Like, why aren't I there yet? Why haven't I matured yet? Like, why am I always feel like I'm super far behind all my friends? I don't know. And then I hit grade 10, which for me was my first year of high school. And I don't know what it was like for your high schools, but for me, for some reason, everybody joined high school, and my whole school came out as bi. It seemed like everywhere I was looking, everybody was bi. Everybody was bi. Now, was everybody really bi? Like, no. But I think it was just because it was like, finally you got a little bit of independence in high school, and I think people just wanted to kiss their friends, and they said it was bi. I don't know, some of them probably were bi. I don't know. But I remember at the time, I was like, maybe because I was like, I've never been exceptionally attracted to boys, so maybe I am bi too. I don't know. And this is like, again, around 2009, 2010 at this point. So the internet wasn't really, it was a thing, but it wasn't like, I didn't use the internet a ton. There wasn't as much like queer representation. There wasn't much talked about on anything. So like, I think at that point, probably gay, lesbian, and bi were the only three orientations I had ever heard of before. So it's not like I had a bunch of options to pick from. I kind of was like, you like one? And again, to me, at the time, was like, male and female are the only two genders, because I had never experienced anything different. So you either like one or the other or both. Okay. And that was kind of what I thought. And then, but actually coincidentally that same year, my favorite cosplayer, Twin Fools, who's the best, came out as trans, and I love him. I loved him. I love him so much. He's an icon, and I love him. And so that was a big eye opener where I was like, oh, there are people who are trans, who like are, oh, okay, that makes sense too. And so there was a brief moment I thought I was trans. It, for me, was just a phase, but it was more my non-binary, like, struggle coming out in, maybe I'm a boy. But at the same time, that all that was happening, because grade 10 can't just be more confusing, you know, joining high school, what the hell is my gender? Oh, what's happening? I also started dating my best friend at the time, who was a girl. And I never had a moment of gay panic, I'm not gonna lie. Like, there was no moment of like, oh, I like girls, or anything. It was kind of just like, okay, guess I like girls. But looking back, no, I didn't. My feelings for her never changed. I was just so excited. Okay, this is kind of pathetic to admit to, but I was so excited that somebody wanted me. All I want in my life is for someone to like actively act like they want me in their life in any way. So the fact that like she pursued me, like she came to me and was like, do you wanna kiss? And I was like, me? I was like, I'll do anything for you. So I think so my feelings for her were quite deep, but platonically deep. I was like, we're kissing, okay, I could not kiss you though, and I'd be fine, but I'm gonna do it because you like it, and okay. And this particular relationship was a secret. My friend did not want people to know. She was experimenting, I guess. I don't really, who knows? I particularly didn't care if people knew. Again, I had no panic, which I think is a symptom of growing up in a really supportive household. Because I was like, oh, like people, that's fine, whatever. I didn't, because my parents had never, not that they talked about gay people that often, but I just knew that they'd be supportive. So I was like, it's fine, whatever. But you don't want people to know? Okay, I won't tell anyone. And I'm glad people didn't know necessarily, but that relationship, unfortunately, was horrific. It was incredibly emotionally and physically abusive. It was awful. It was like, it was like not even a year long, but it was awful. I crumbled into nothing because of the stress that I was put under with this relationship. And to the point that I had a pretty severe mental breakdown. Yay for mental breakdowns. I even, like, I physically remember, like, the mind snapping and, like, falling apart in my brain. I was not okay. And so, the benefit of the breakdown was that I never had to deal with my parents being like, my kid likes women. Because I was not really there, and they also had more pressing matters to deal with, because I was, like, very visibly not okay, and they were like, we need to put this kid in some help. Okay, alright, oh my god, we don't have time for the gay panic. Perfect, no gay panic in my life, ding ding ding. But that relationship obviously really soured any potential relationships I would have wanted going forward, especially like the year after. I was like, I'm good, you know, if that's what relationships are like, I'm good. I think I still like girls? I think at that point, after like that whole thing, that relationship had ended, I was like, I had heard of like pansexual and gotten a little bit more into like the queer thing, and I was like, I think I'm pansexual, because I don't think that gender matters to me, because I look at people of all genders and I'm like, would I date them? Like, I guess. But like, but the feelings of like, but I was also always kind of like uncomfortable with like the boning part. I'm like, do I feel attraction to any of them? Like, I would be friends with any of them, but what's different between being a friend and dating someone? I don't know what the difference is. Okay. And I, but was still kind of feeling sad that my friends were all clearly going in a direction of feeling certain ways for people, and I like just didn't have that. And I was like, oh, why? Like, what is wrong with me? And then I was like, well, okay, maybe, like, and again, I wasn't being pursued, and I'm so nervous that I was like, I don't know how to pursue other people, so it'll happen maybe when it happens. And then when I was 18, there was a boy who we never dated, but he was definitely like interested, but in a weird way. He kept saying he didn't want to actually be in a relationship because he just got out of a bad relationship, but then would lead me on. Super cool. And we ended up kissing once, and then he told me that I sucked. And then I was like, okay, hopefully you never want that to happen again. Because guys, fellas out there, if you're gonna kiss a person who, and I definitely had made it clear, because I don't even think I told them that I had kissed the girl, because again, it was a secret. And so I just didn't say it out loud, but I was like, so I think I had said like I never kissed anybody. And so if somebody who says they've never kissed somebody and then you kiss them and then you tell them that they suck, that's bad. Don't do that. That is mean and bad and mean. But I was thinking about it while I was preparing for this video, and that is actually the last time that I kissed somebody, was when I was 18, or it was maybe 17. And I'm 30, like next week. So, wow. And I haven't missed it at all, amazing. But that's so funny that the last kiss I had was the person told me I sucked right after. But yeah, so that like didn't end up going kind of any farther than that. But again, not great. The two like closest things to relationships that I'd ever had didn't end up so well for me. Which, could that play into why I'm like not as interested in having a relationship now? Maybe, I don't know. But I wasn't really interested beforehand either. I just wanted people to want me. And I was like, I'm willing to kiss you if it means that you act like you want me around and not just that I'm convenient. So that was it. But then I graduated high school, became an adult, and in between 18 and 20, I really struggled with this feeling of like, I don't feel like a real person, and not related to my sexuality, but just I don't feel like a real person. I feel like an imaginary friend, and I need to be needed. And so I was like, it was a weird time in my life. And I was also chronic DD for all of my friends, because 18 is a legal drinking age where I live. So from 18 to 20, all anyone ever wanted to do on the weekends and in the evenings was go to a bar and drink. And I just couldn't do it. I couldn't go into a bar. I tried, I couldn't do it. It wasn't my place. But I knew that if I didn't go with them, I would never see my friends ever, because that's all they ever wanted to do. So I became DD. I would drive all my friends to the bar. I would go home until whatever time they were done, you know, sometimes 2, sometimes 4 in the morning. I would go pick them up and I would drive them home. I never asked for compensation. That's just what I did. Which I don't recommend. That was a pretty terrible way to live your life, is just to be chronic free taxi for a bunch of drunk people all the time, but it's what I did. But during that time is actually when my whole life changed. Because during one of my many nights at home by myself in the middle of the night, I would watch a lot of documentaries just because they're long, they're interesting, I like learning about stuff, and especially social documentaries I was really into. So one particular night, I was just clicking around on Netflix trying to find something to watch, and this documentary popped up that was Asexual. And I was like, ooh, that's fun, because it must be about some sort of sexual orientation. Like, I thought it was asexual, like a sexual person. And I was like, okay, cool. At this point, I'm like, I'm pansexual. I like learning about the gays. I will learn about the gays. This will be a video about the gays. I clicked on it, and it was like immediately everything clicked into place for me. It was the craziest, like, 2 hours or however long the documentary was of my life. I've told people about this before, where, like, imagine your identity is a puzzle piece, where as things happen, the pieces get clicked into place to become like an entire identity. For me, my sexuality was kind of a big blurry gray hole in my puzzle, in my identity puzzle, because I was like, I think I'm pansexual, but I don't really feel anything, but I don't know why I don't feel anything, and like, is it just something that people have to like force themselves to do before, and then it becomes something they want? I don't know. But as soon as I was on that, in that document, as soon as I started watching that documentary, the puzzle piece like zoomed in and clicked into place, and it was like all of a sudden that whole part was like whole. I was like enthralled by this documentary, just hearing what people were saying and being like, wait, that's what I feel. That's a thing that people, oh my god, it isn't just me. I'm not alone in this weird feeling that I have. There's a group of people, there's a name for it. There's a label for what I feel that isn't just like, you're so innocent, you're so naive. It was incredible. That documentary like actually changed my whole life. So, which is why representation matters, because if I had never watched that documentary, I might never have figured it out. But it was like, and it was just like, oh my god, everything that I feel is like there, and it exists. Like, people don't feel sexual attraction, but some people can be in relationships even with it, and there's a groups, and it's a term, and it's a label, and it has its own flag, and it was so exciting for me. Oh my god, it was amazing. I literally think that when I drove to pick up my friends that night, while they were all drunk in the car, I was like, I'm asexual. Just so you guys all know, I am asexual, and that is what I am, because there was no questioning. There was no like, oh, maybe that's what I am. I was 20 at this point. I knew this is what I am. Wow. That feels great to not just be like confused. And wow, that was amazing. And I think I kind of just told anyone for a little while. It doesn't, honestly, like I said before, it doesn't really come up in conversation a lot anymore, or at all. It never did, because I'm not bringing people home, so nobody has to like confront the sexualityness of it. But anytime it did get brought up, I would tell people. I remember telling my parents, and my parents were supportive. My parents have always been incredibly supportive of everything I've ever wanted to be or do in my life. I would say though that at least for probably the first year of me coming out to them, they didn't understand. It was just so foreign to them. They just did not they just had never heard of it before. Like, because I was like, oh, because at that point I was still like, oh, I'm like pan-romantic. And I was like, well, you can separate romantic and sexual feelings. And they were like, no, you can't. And I'm like, like, yes, you can. Like, what do you mean? I just don't want to have sex with people. But like, not that I'm waiting for somebody I'm waiting till marriage. It's not that. I just don't want to have sex with people ever. Like, that's all I'm trying to say. And so it was definitely a conversation that we had a lot, where they were like, we just don't want you to close yourself off to like opportunities and like, you know. And again, not unsupportive, but just not understanding. But with the power of time, I'm happy to announce that my parents are very supportive and understanding now. They get it, you know. Could they maybe describe it to other people? Maybe not, but they get it at least enough to understand who I am. So if your parents don't understand right now doesn't mean that they never will, you know, because they will, maybe. There's a chance that they could understand. But yeah, after learning about that documentary and doing that, it was like, that was it. I got it. Cool. And then I've lived my whole 20s being like, I'm asexual. And I've never faltered on it, honestly. Like, I've never really thought like, oh, maybe I'm not though. Because it's just like, my feelings for no one have ever developed farther than deep platonic feelings, which are very stressful because how do you differentiate between like a queer platonic friendship and a friendship? I don't know. I didn't know. And there was a particular friendship that I had with my best friend, again, my best friend at the time, probably when I was about 25-ish, where clearly she was my best friend. Like she was my kind of my everything. And I don't think I was the same for her. But looking back on it, this is all in like reflection. I couldn't have said this at the time because I didn't know what I was feeling, but I felt more deeply for her than I've ever felt for almost anybody in my entire life. And it was all platonic, which is why I didn't recognize it as anything different. And unfortunately, it kind of led to the end of our friendship because she got into a relationship and I really struggled with it. And I kind of didn't know why I struggled with it, but I became like more snappy and things happened where it was like, why do I feel like this? Like, we weren't together, but like in my brain, we kind of were in the way that I wanted to be, but that's not fair to put that on somebody else because like she didn't know, I didn't communicate that with her, but I didn't have the language. How was I supposed to know? So that sucks. Queer platonic relationships, I've never been in an actual one, but it was like, yeah, it was just a weird, very deep platonic feelings for this friend that did not feel the same way for me, which is fair because she was not asexual or aromantic or any of that. And again, I didn't communicate that with her. It was a bad time. You live and you learn, I guess. Because it was sort of probably around that time, about when I was 25-ish, that I was like, maybe I'm aromantic. Like, I don't really know. Because I don't really know. I've never really been in a relationship, so I don't really know, or haven't been in a long time, so I don't really know what romantic feelings I would have for a person. Maybe I would, but I don't feel like I have them now, so maybe I don't have them, and I don't know. And I would say that I'm still kind of like that. Like, I'm still, the asexual thing, I'm like locked in, this is what I am. The aromantic thing is something that could change if things happen. I don't really know, but I kind of, you know, it's a hard one. Romantic feelings, what are they? How do you differentiate them between that and friendship? I don't know. But now we kind of get to here. I'll be 30 next week, and I feel so good that I have like asexuality. You don't need to have a label to describe who you are and what you feel. They're not for everybody. It was nice for me not even to have the label, but to have the language to describe what I was feeling to other people in a way that they could understand, which wasn't just like, I don't know, like, I don't know. You know, it was just nice to be able to describe it to people. That's like a huge thing, to have the language to, you know, connect with other people in some ways. It's awesome. Honestly, it's great. Love finding out about yourself. Feels so good. Now, asexuality and aromanticness, I guess, also, is kind of a weird thing because I would say that in terms of like pride, I find I struggle a little bit in that space just because, like everything, like I mentioned earlier, everything is sexual. Not that queer people are more sexual than anyone else. Everyone's just sexual all the time. Like, try to name me, again, like name me asexual characters, try to name me 5 movies that don't have sex or romance in them. Try to name me 5 movies with no sex or romance, or TV shows, or books, or advertisements. It's everywhere. And so it's at Pride as well, because of course it's being part of Pride is being able to bone and love who you want. And asexuality is kind of like not feeling like I have to bone or love anyone, or not wanting to love or like not wanting to bone anyone. And so it's kind of like, I feel quite ostracized in the community, not because anyone's been particularly mean to me, but just because it's not my space. It's not a space meant for me. It's a space meant for people to be able to express their sexual attraction and their love, and that's great, and I love that. That just doesn't reflect my experience and who I am. And unfortunately, there isn't a lot of like asexual only spaces anywhere. There's no asexual dating sites, there's no asexual pride, like things generally. Like, it's hard. I do feel quite isolated from a lot of the queer community in that sense, just because I'm like, I feel like I feel closer to the queer community than I do to like the straight community, but like still, I'm like, I still don't really feel like I belong here when I go, which is sad, but I don't really know what could change, because again, I don't want people at Pride to feel like, oh, like I can't express certain things because the asexuals are here. I don't want that. I want people to express how they want to express. I just wish that there was a space for me, you know, to have to not express it, to have to not think about it, to have to not be around it. Like, I would love to have a space where there's like, people don't have to tell sex jokes. Like, great, they're fine, it's fine, whatever, but like, okay, you know? And like, so it's just that's just in terms of Pride. Obviously having like friends and stuff, like most of my friends are very not like, we're gonna tell sex jokes all the time. Like, they're not like that anymore. So like, it's only in terms of like Pride activities. And maybe there are in some places. Where I live, there really isn't as much, or at least I don't know where it is, if there is. I'm also very nervous, so I don't know if I would go because I'm nervous. But yeah, it's a weird one, just in that sense, because yeah, it's like, I think I saw in the Wikipedia article, it was almost like asexuality is the lack of a sexual orientation, which I guess is kind of true in some sense, but it's kind of also kind of weird, because it's like, some asexual people do have sex with people that they're attracted to, you know? But it's a weird one. It's a weird one. But anyway, that is my story. I'm asexual, and pretty sure I'm also aromantic. Life is great. Hopefully this is helpful. If you're struggling to think, if you're thinking you're maybe asexual, hopefully this video helped you. Sorry, it was a bit rambly, but this is, you know, I'm happy to report that you can be asexual and stay asexual for a long time. It'll be 10 years for me right away, and here I am, still kicking, still happy, everything is great. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you are asexual or asexual questioning or whatever, and you have any experiences that you want to share, please feel free to leave them down below. I think that would be great, because again, having the most perspectives that somebody can is super helpful, and everybody's perspective is kind of different, so I'd love to hear them down below. It'd also be good for me too. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think of this video. Also, I tried to do a different background. I'm in my living room I made a video about me redoing my living room, which I'll link up above if I can as well. I thought I would try a different filming location, but yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in whatever my next video ends up being. Bye!